Forward now to the 1960s, and what could be more wholesome than Action Man, fighting for the American principles of freedom, justice, and liberty.
Action Man!
Now with eagle eyes that actually move. On the lookout for action. Up in the mountains.
But he too had a darker side.
Action Man was first developed in 1966. It originated from a toy that was being developed in America called G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe wouldn't work, so Action Man came in and played up on the whole sort of Second World War militaristic sort of line. It was developed by a plastics manufacturer called Bill Pugh, who also claim to fame was the Jif Squeezy Lemon bottle and also the plastic tomato, which was dispensing ketchup at the time with 1,000 sort of roadside calves. And it had some incredibly politically incorrect uniforms, one of which was the Stormtrooper, complete with boots, Sten gun, and it seemed to fit very nicely with the Action Man scar. You just think now, how politically incorrect could that be? But of course, boys at the time wanted an enemy to play with, and they needed a Stormtrooper for their good old British Tommy model to beat the living daylights out of.
Moving arm, a couple of moving arms, a couple of moving legs. But I suppose Action Man, there's nothing very much moving around the crutch at all to suggest a real Action Man.
As storm clouds gather over Mrs. Rogers' garden, the Action Man gang assemble for the big parade. It's an impressive display of military muscle. And speaking of muscle, just look at Action Man's new fully posable physique. It's chest out and eyes right as the top brass take the salute. They know that whatever the task, Action Man with his dynamic new physique is ready for action.
Perhaps I shouldn't really say this, but I can't help but think that when I occasionally walk around Soho these days, there seem to be an enormous number of people, men walking around, who've modelled themselves on Action Man, who actually walk in this sort of Action Man way, who make sort of gestures, who have pecs a bit like Action Man, who try to make their chin stick out like Action Man. There are thousands of would-be Action Men walking around Soho.
I never really liked Action Man very much. And I don't know why, there's something sort of slightly homoerotic about it, and there's something a little bit sinister about it. And the idea that you would take the top off this guy and he'd reveal his rippling muscles and this clean shaven chest, and it wasn't for me.
Gay men. Perhaps you might give a gay man an Action Man doll as a present. He might approve of that, and I think that would be a nice present to give someone. In fact, they have now perfectly anatomical dolls for gay men. I'll go no further.
In the olden days, of course, childhood wasn't all about having fun. Kids were expected to spend their formative years developing the skills they'd need in later life by learning how to blow each other to pieces.
Flying attack squadrons off his carrier deck. Landing a helicopter strike force. Counting down to blast off for the moon. To a boy and his Meccano, all things are possible. A boy and his Meccano is a boy living in a man's world. For his hands can work wonders of real engineering, make hundreds of rugged working models. A boy and his Meccano turns a boy's world into a man's world. Meccano, for your boy.
We're supposed to live in sexually ambivalent days. It's a wonder, really, there is much sexual ambivalence around in adulthood when children from the age of 2 are just being given gendered toys. 98% of toys given to children who are 3 and older are gendered. In other words, people can pick them out and say, that's for a boy and that's for a girl. Blimey, that's socialising.
Appalling as these gender-biased toys are, Wayne and Kylie have it easy compared to the role-play that George and Mildred had to endure back in the days when Britannia still ruled the waves.
That grand old game of mothers and fathers has taken a practical turn. It actually become part of the training at an Empire school. Better lay an extra place in case George brings home a friend from the club. The tired businessman returns from the city absolutely fagged out. But what happens? Just nothing. Say, isn't dinner ready yet? I'm starving. You're in the way, George. Come over here. And to think that he's supposed to be the head of the house. Feed the brute, that's the idea. After all, it is a change from drinking.
If children's toys are designed to prepare their owner for real life, our next product will propel them swiftly to the terminal cancer ward. The Smoking Baby.
Which is a ceramic doll that has a cigarette, which is actually an incense stick, stuck in its mouth. And the legend underneath, remember, real babies don't smoke.
To them.
To what I thought was a mate in need. Turns out he was a smackhead, so they probably got sold.
I think it's quite brave that they issued stuff that was that sinister. I don't know whether you get stuff like that now. I used to quite like them.
Barbie is the grand dame of the toy business, I guess. You know, it's been around for 45 years. There probably aren't many children, or certainly girls, that don't grow up without a Barbie.
A veteran she may be, but some people would suggest that Barbie's origins are also more than a tad politically incorrect. Allegedly, she was based on a German adult doll called Lily, who was popular in 1955. The story goes that Ruth Handler, Barbie's creator, spotted Lily while in Europe, and the inspiration for Barbie stemmed from there. Look at this classic advert for the earliest Barbie dolls, and there is, undeniably, a remarkable similarity, although Barbie is clearly much more innocent and virginal compared to her German doppelganger. And let's not forget to mention innocent, no-genitals Ken. His stripy jumpers, matchstick legs, and camp demeanour suggested he was no action man either. But maybe Barbie fell for him because she was naive. So naive, in fact, that in 1990 she appeared in possibly the most appalling, gut-churning plea for peace ever made. So nauseating that it makes you think war isn't so bad after all.
The world would be a better place if you could save the trees and the eagles. It's up to you and me. We can stop the trees from falling. We can free our world of drugs. We can keep our birds soaring. There's still time for kids like us.
Charming sentiments. But while this advert wants to make the world a better place, it's interesting to note that Barbie is made out of plastic, which in turn is made out of oil. So it isn't exactly the most environmentally friendly substance with which to save the world.
There's never been a better time to buy Barbie.